So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to welcome Al back in, and we can go to some of our final slides here. We have time for question and answer. And Al, I'm going to actually begin with you. A question from Peggy, who wonders, who manages your poll, and how do you share results with employees?
We manage that ourselves. We have a small team that's responsible for our intranet, and the poll is a key part of that. We share them from time to time with, as I said, we do some report backs on various subjects. So we did a poll on the environment and going green and sustainability. And as part of that, we asked employees, what do you do to contribute to sustainability and being treating the environment right? And those results then wound up as a news story that we presented back to our employees. And we've done that on a number of subjects.
That's great. So I have a question from Carolyn Ray for Fraser. Has there been any internal resistance, and how did you overcome this?
Yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't say we had some resistance at the beginning. Not so much from our top leadership, but from others within the company. A lot of people looked at this as a big danger if we would start allowing employees and agents to comment and also rate things. So as you can imagine, and I hope there are no lawyers in the audience, but we had a lot of resistance from our legal folks, and there were pockets of resistance from other areas of the company. But I got to say, by and large, I think once this was launched and people saw what it is and the capability it had, that resistance started to melt away pretty quickly. And in fact, since I've been with the Hub now for a little over a year and a half, I have noticed even a dramatic shift in the way we are working with our partners around the company, because we rely on them as the subject matter experts. My writers and reporters on my team certainly are not experts in all areas of the company, and they need our business partners to write their stories, to create their videos. And it has gone from a point where we sometimes had doors slammed in our face to where I now have departments coming to me saying, hey, can you do a story on this? Or we'd love to be a part of your story. Even our lawyers have even come to us and said, we think you need to do a story on this. So there's been a dramatic shift in the attitude of how people have reacted to the News Hub since its launch.
Needless to say, conversations are important and valuable to your organization.
Yeah, and David, if I can just throw one more thing in there. Earlier you asked about other measurements of how we're finding out if the News Hub is relevant to folks. This is not a formal measurement, but this is indicative, I think, anecdotally of what we hear. Our chief administrative officer of the company goes around our enterprise every month, and he goes to a different location once a month usually, and he has a meeting with our frontline, first-line managers. And one of the questions he asked them is, how are your people getting their information? Where are you getting information from? And without a doubt, what we're hearing is often at every one of these meetings, he's hearing from the frontline management group, I and my employees, we go to the News Hub, we're getting our information from the News Hub. So that tells us that, again, people across the enterprise are engaged.
That's great. Maybe time for one more question from Sangeeta for Al. Kodak mentioned that you have 1,250 participants per poll on average. How many employees do you have?
We have roughly 20,000 globally. About half of those are in the U.S. And because we're a global company, we have the challenges of language, obviously.
Sure.
We also have the challenges of subject matter. Fraser talked about doing one of their polls on income tax.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little more difficult for us to do something like that because that would be a U.S. or U.S. and Canada focused kind of thing.
Sure.
So we work very hard to try to keep our polls relevant on a global basis. And while the 1,200 may not seem a lot out of 20,000, you have to remember that some of our employees are in a manufacturing environment and don't have ready access to computers, and the field force does not, in some cases, have ready access. But we're holding pretty consistent, and we feel that that's a pretty good rate.
That's great. You know, Sanjita also had a follow-up question, which I can answer, which is around whether every poll is just available in English. And I can say that one of the add-ons that we have for the poll is a multi-language function. So pretty much any language that you have in mind, and we can translate polls into that language to make sure that you can make that big world feel a little bit smaller for your organization.
David, it's Al. Just one more tip
Sure.
for those that are using the poll. We've tried this a few times, and it works pretty well. The main access to the poll is on our homepage.
Mm-hmm.
When we have a news story, say about a series of new products, and the poll ties into that, we take that same piece of code and put it actually embedded in that story.
Oh, great.
So you can get at the poll from two different ways, and having it right in the story adjacent to the story, we think increases participation.
That's excellent.